Well, morning folks, welcome to the Old Classic Car channel, and today you find me in sunny North Wales in Llangollen, or to be precise, at the Llangollen Motor Museum. Now, Llangollen is quite well known for many things, the Eisteddfod, the very fine steam railway, but not so much this, the Llangollen Motor Museum. It's a place I've been to on numerous occasions over the last 25-30 years or so. There are some really interesting cars hidden away in that old building behind me. Let's go and have a look and just see what's in there today. Bit of work in progress Triumph TR6 here, quite an unusual brown colour. We don't see them in brown too often. We did see a two-tone brown one a little while ago, I think maybe at Goresworth Hall or somewhere like that. But to see one in its original paint is quite unusual. Many people order them in brown, I'm sure. Some cracking stuff in this cabinet here. Look at all these old spark plugs. I did do a video on collecting spark plugs a little while ago. A bit of a niche hobby, I admit, but the Schrader spark plug air pump. So that one, you pump up your tyres, you take out one of your spark plugs. I think there's one of those back at base. You take out one spark plug and plug the adapter in, screw the adapter in where the plug used to go, and connect the other end to your tyre. Run your engine on 3 out of 4 cylinders presumably, and the compression created by the piston, the pressure from that goes down and actually pumps your tyre up. That's quite a clever idea. Some Dunlop tyre repair kits here. The most eye-catching of all is this Smith's Blue Coal antifreeze tin. Triangular tin. Not sure if we can see that with the reflections, but there's some wonderful old automobilia here. Various old mascots and badges in here. Silver City Airways. Who remembers them? The Bugatti Owners Club. Of course, the owners of the Prescott Hill Climb venue that we go to. I've been there a few times now. Bedford TK. Saw a few of those recently at Gaydon for the classic and vintage commercial meeting they had there. That's off an old guy. A Singer Bantam. These little traffic light indicators are quite interesting. Those are off a Morris, I think. For a short time in the 1930s, you could buy some of the sort of slightly plusher Morrises, and they came equipped with these sort of traffic light type indicators. They're quite unusual. They are usually one either side on the car. Got the early oil-filled glass coils there, the ignition coils. Smith's clocks. Petrol gauge there, nice early one. Lots and lots of goodies everywhere you look in all these cabinets. Old Ford 8 or 10 hub puller there. Fantastic goggles and helmet. Many badges down here. Who recognises these? These are the old brass caps off the 2-gallon petrol cans. We've got all sorts here. Shell Mex Esso, Shell Mex Pratt's Redline Ensign. That's probably quite a rare one. All very sought after now. If you buy the can, you want the correct top to go with it. Yeah, everywhere you look, there's wonderful little bits of memorabilia. We've not even looked at the vehicles themselves yet. Old key fobs over there. A standard 10 bonnet badge. Very nice. Right, so I think it's probably time to start having a look around the actual museum itself, and we begin with this wonderful collection of old motorcycles over here. Let's have a quick look. Fortunately, a lot of them have got information sheets with them because I don't know my way around motorcycles too well. But this is a 1929 AJS. There we go. Our most recent purchase. This handsome old machine was of AJS design, fitted with an engine also made by AJS, which has detachable heads. What a beauty that is. Next to that, we have a rally, a very early vintage rally. Rudge Whitworth. These are beautiful old motorcycles. Let's have a quick look at the info sheet. You can always pause the video if you want to have a quick read of this yourself. 1928 Rudge Whitworth Sport 499cc machine, full valve head, 4-speed gearbox. Beautiful bike that is. So quite taken with this old oil can as well. Next to that, made in Paris in 1928, the Gnome Llangollen. Apologies for the pronunciation. What do we have here? A Nera car, manufactured in New York, USA, and in England. What a great looking thing that is. What a beautiful collection of old motorcycles we have here. Or is this a Triumph? Yep. Triumph Model H 1916 dispatch rider's bike, First World War era. The Morgan Aero, the 3-wheel Morgan Aero. If you've been around on the channel for a little while, you'll know we visited a Llangollen Motor Museum down in Kent. It's well worth looking that one out. There were several of these in there. What a Bobby Dazzler that is. The Morgan Aero. Big V-twin Jap engine hung out the front there. Another Morgan here. This one looks like a bit of a restoration project. If we have a quick peek under here, we'll see a side valve Ford engine. I'm not sure if that's the 8 or the 10. There's not much difference between them. This one's been set up for twin SU carburetors. Nice little inlet manifold there. Yeah, that'll be a nice one, that's all back together. This one's fantastic alongside it as well. Just a bit of everything here. That's why I like this museum so much. And on the end, we've got a BMW Isetta. What's the story of this one? 1957 BMW Isetta. There you go. This one's on loan to the museum by a chap on the Wirral. Yeah, everywhere you look. You have to keep going back because you keep spotting different things every time you wander back. Yeah. Great pair of Morgans there. I do like those a lot. Apparently this museum was formed back in 1985. It has changed ownership over the years, but it was first formed way back in the mid-1980s. It's evolved into what you see here today. Cars, motorcycles, three-wheelers, and lots of memorabilia. Let's carry on over here. Shelves of old books, many books, all on the subject of old cars and motorcycles, garages and so on. All sorts of stuff. And look at this, the Davern set. Davern set used to make battery chargers. This is a bit of testing gear for a magneto. So magneto has provided the spark on many cars in the 1920s and probably into the early 1930s. Same with lawnmowers, even to this day. But this is a bit of testing kit to test your magneto. That's all quite neat. Nice Wolseley dealer's sign there. I just love these random displays of items. Got a little Riley. Start off a Riley Elf. Morris Minor hubcap. Nice little oil pourer, SO oil pourer. What's that real light off? Answers on the postcard for that one. What's that light off? We've got a Michelin man up there, Mr. Bibendum. Lovely old Shell oil can. A couple of Castrol pourers. So many things everywhere you look. Not all of it car related, but most of it. The waste oil filter. So in this you could filter your old oil once you dropped it out the sump. I like that. That Roots product sign. Lots more motorcycles here. I think this is a Sunbeam, Sunbeam S7, 1951. So what does it say about that? 500cc twin, designed by Erling Pope to be the ultimate gentleman's motorcycle. A very handsome machine it is too. Next up we got a Triumph. And what's that? The BSA 650 Super Rocket Special. Built in 1966 using a 350cc BSA Gold Star frame. Bit of info there if you want to zoom in and have a quick read. Very neat little Lambretta there. Real oily rag on that one. Doesn't look like it's ever been restored. Wonder when that one last ran. But again, everywhere you look between the exhibits that are here, you just see really interesting bits of memorabilia. Look at that huge Carbarol Super tin there, dispenser rather. That's very cool indeed. A few more bikes, another rally runabout. This one's still with the original decals on it, as I remember ours used to have on it. Sometimes get tempted to buy another one of those, but probably shouldn't. And there is a Velo Solex, one of those sort of engine assisted machines, a bit like a moped I suppose if you like. The engine hung over the front wheel there. Veloset LE, these were very popular, water-cooled motorcycles. These were very popular with police forces back in the 50s and 1960s. Shaft drive, very quiet. You could sneak up on the crims on one of those. I think that's why they were so popular with various police forces. Now this is an auto bike. That's a cool old thing, that is. The Excelsior auto bike. You can see why people collect mopeds and motorcycles, because they don't take up much room. You could buy probably 7 or 8 of those and take up the space of one car. But I could see that being quite dangerous if I started getting into collecting those. Yeah, lots and lots of bikes. We've got a race prepared Veloset here, a Verdcam KSS from 1932. What a beautiful old bike that is as well. I like that a lot. What do we have here? A new Imperial. That's 1935 new Imperial, 250cc single cylinder overhead valve. £35 and 15 shillings. That's very nice indeed. Note the hand gear change there. What's that? A Royal Enfield, of course. That's a name that's still going to this day, although they are made in India now. Guessing this is a Harley of some description now. DOT, is that devoid of trouble? Not sure. Those are very popular trials bike in the 40s and 50s. 1949 DOT 197cc 2-stroke engine. Yeah, devoid of trouble. That's really nice. This is an Aerial 3. I think this used to tilt, very much a 70s design. I'm pretty sure that's probably one of the last gasps of Aerial, in fact. What does it say? 1973 wheeler tilting moped. Alongside that, Sir Clive's idea, the Sinclair C5. A particularly magnificent scale model of the steam locomotive. Of course, we're not too far away from the Llangollen steam railway, so it seems appropriate that we've got that here. And lots more goodies in this display cabinet here. We've got some dealer posters or training posters here of how the 4-stroke engine worked. Those are Ford publications. A really nice little pinball or bagatelle game there. Safety first. That's very nice. I like that a lot. I've never seen one of those before. And the safety first game box there. And the racing board game there. I think I've got one of those. Down here, more petrol cans. Redline, Shell, Motor Spirit, National Benzol and Glyco. And a beautiful Esso Pora. I know someone who'd want that. Matchless Francis Barnett, BSA, Birmingham Small Arms, Norton, that's a sporty looking number, an Ariel, AJS, so what's that one, CZ I think, not sure what this newer one is, or that one on the end, Fireblade, oh, so that'll be a Honda Fireblade, yep. But yeah, let's go and have a look at the cars. Well, to begin with, the Caravan. What a lovely little caravan that is as well. Just perfect for a weekend away at a steam rally somewhere. Wow, what a great old thing that is. This caravan is believed to be the oldest motor-drawn caravan in Great Britain, built from plans published in a magazine in 1908. Wow. Stored in a barn. Last time it was used was in 1960 when it was towed behind a Morris commercial, that's a lorry. The present owners believe the curtains and lino to be original, and they wish to keep the caravan just as it is. Isn't that fantastic? Let's have a look again around the back. What a great little thing that is. You can just imagine someone thinking, I'm going to build one of those. I've had one or two oddball little caravans myself over the years, but not one quite that old. Lovely spoked wheels as well. Wonder what that axle's off. But I'm quite partial to an old caravan. Right, to cars. And here we have a left-hand drive Ford Model T. So presumably this is an American-built one. The right-hand drive cars were more often than not the cars that were assembled at Ford's plant in Trafford Park in Manchester. Let's have a look, see what history says for this particular vehicle. 1918 from Model T Ford, 2890cc side valve. Some commercial versions were assembled in a building on the A5 in Llangollen. This one was originally built as a roadster, but after several very wet summers in the Wirral, its owner built this handsome launderette body. What's that alongside it? Is that a Wolseley? I've not checked, I should have done. Probably isn't. That was a Humber, of course it is. That shape of radiator is very, very Humber actually. 1919 Humber 10 horse Tourer, made to order of a director of the Humber Car Company. It's designed to have the look of a 1914 model. Features Lucas dyno starter and a 4-speed gearbox, but only has rear wheel brakes. And lovely unmessed with condition. Yeah. That's lovely, that. Proper little vintage car, 1919 that is. What a great car that is. Looks just right next to this old Model T as well. And if these cars ever get exercised. Right, next to that we have an Austin 7 Chummy. A slightly more familiar territory of this one. It says 1929 Chummy. So it has some interesting mods, two leading shoe brakes, 12-volt electrics and electronic ignition, the SU carburetor. It should start easier and let us see where we're going at night. So yeah, got a few modifications under the bonnet of that Chummy. Got a 4-seater, yeah, lovely car. Of course the later Chummies, the headlights were mounted down on the front wings in the usual place. But earlier Chummies, and this is 1929, the headlights were still mounted on the scuttle. Yeah. Very nice it is too. What a great little place this is. And here we've got a slightly later, still Austin 7. I'm guessing early 30s. So we'll just say 1932, yep. Austin 7 Box Saloon. So both Austin 7s, both pre-Ruby Austin 7s, but very, very different in look and style. And there's only 3 years difference between the two. That's 1932, that's 1929, but not that many, not many years between them, but very, very different looking vehicles. Of course, one's a fixed head saloon and the other's a little Tourer, but even so, very, very different looking cars. That one looks so much older. On this era, I think the badges were still screwed on, I think. Whereas the Austin winged badge is moulded into the radiator surround by this point in time. So which out of those four would I be taking home with me? Well, I like an Austin 7. I really like Austin 7 Chummies, but I think it would be the Humber for me. I think that is just a delightful little car. Lovely original condition, not too shiny, not tarted up. Just really, really nice. Of course, whether you can buy any parts for them or not, I don't know. Whereas the Model T, these are really well supported. You can buy all sorts of parts from various dealers, even in this country. So if you want an easy life, buy a Model T or perhaps a Model A, the car that came afterwards. But if you want something that's really unusual, then this is the car that I will be taking home myself. What a beauty that is. Which I can see a little bit more memorabilia around here. Let's go and have a quick shufty, see what's around here. It's quite easy to miss stuff. We'll just negotiate the back of the Model T and that delightful little Humber. What do we have over here? Next to this ancient mangle of all things. Used to use these for drying your clothes. Run them through those two rollers, squeeze out the water. A lovely Red X upper cylinder lubricant sign there. Wonder what garage that came out of. That's really nice. Lodge plugs. Lodge is one of the sponsors on the back of my old truck at home. That would look very nice hanging up inside it. Got a garage wall chart, servicing chart here for the Austin 7, which is appropriate given that we've got those two Austin 7s there. And here we have a cutaway version of an Austin 7 engine, a little 747cc side valve engine. Yeah, all cutaway so you can see the general layout and the internals of the gearbox, the engine and so on. So I keep talking about side valve engines. Well, that is an example of a side valve engine. So the cylinder head is literally just a lid on top of the engine and the valves, whereas in later cars, overhead valve cars, the cylinder head comes off and the valves are actually set into the head. On side valve cars, they're set into the block, the side of the engine block, and you can just about see the valve assemblies, inlet exhaust, da 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 da, the valve springs and so on. Yeah, great. I mean, these are used for instructional purposes, people who are learning their trade, learning how to be garage mechanics, that kind of thing. That's what these would have been used for. They were also used in motor shows as well, just to show the design of the engine, how they worked. That's quite a cool Survivor, that is. What else have we got? Newton oils. Up until 1954 they were not when oils, which was Newton backwards, not when. And then in 54 they changed it to Newton oils. Here's the back with our lovely Humber, the Austin Chummy and the little box saloon. Both these two very usable and very popular in the VSCC, the Vintage Sports Car Club. You see people trialling these, using them on road runs and all sorts of things. Really well supported these are. Another illuminated garage sign there, this one for Humber. And what do we see out through the window there? The remains of a Triumph Stag. I don't think that one's going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah. Champion spark plugs. Yeah, if you need to know what car and what spark plugs your car needs, here you go. I wonder if it's got any of ours on here. The standard 1953 onwards, the 8 and the 10. So that would be Champion N5s with a 25 thou gap. That's pretty neat. Look at that. Now, talking of standards, as I was a moment ago, just look at this stunning pre-war standard. I'm not quite sure which model this is. I think it may be a 16. What a beautiful old car that is. I know this one does run and it is used from time to time. What an immaculate car that is. Beautiful original leather seats inside there. What a comfy looking car that is. That's a rare car, that one. Such a handsome car, that. There you go. Standard of Coventry. Yeah, love that. And here we have a Gilburn. Seems appropriate given that we are in Wales. And this is, well, unless TVR pull their finger out with their Welsh factory, this is the only car I think to ever be produced in any numbers here in Wales. This is the Gilburn GT, I think. Yeah. 1961 Gilburn GT. This one's got a 16. It says 1662, but it should be 1622 cc MGA engine. Yeah. As I've pointed out before, I think in the Tatton Park video I made a point of mentioning this. Austin A40 Farina rear lights. That's where you've seen those before. In fact, at Tatton Park in the video I did comment that there were several cars that had A40 rear lights on them. Wolseley 1500s, the Gilburn GTs, but there were no actual A40s there that day. It seemed slightly ironic. Yeah, it's good to see this Gilburn here. Got a sporty car, fiberglass body. And next to that, a Vauxhall Victor. 4-door Vauxhall Victor behind this pretty impressive looking sun diagnostic tester. Look at that. That's a pretty whizzy looking thing. This is engine RPM, the distributor settings, dwell angles, all that kind of thing on this scope here. The Vauxhall Victor, the 101, that's on a C registration, so that makes it 1965, very tightly packed in. I don't think this one moves all that often, but I'm sure it would run with a bit of persuasion. An increasingly rare car now. These things used to rust pretty badly, as most cars in the 60s did in fairness. But over here, this wedge-shaped car here, this is a really interesting car, so we're going to have a closer look at that one now. This is the Douglas Hartley Special. This was a one-off made by a very gifted engineer back in the 1960s. What an incredible little car that is, totally unique, the only one ever built, of course. Yeah, what a groovy looking car that is. Those look like MG midget wheels to me. And I'm guessing there are probably quite a few parts that are borrowed, liberated from other cars. Look at this badge, I mean look at the attention to detail that's gone into producing that one-off badge. What a groovy looking car that is. I mean that's 1960s, but it was sort of predicting already the wedge shape that would become so popular in the 1970s. So Mr. Hartley was certainly ahead of the game when he designed and built this incredible car. Look at that. Sliding door windows. What are these flaps in the roof are for? I'm not quite sure what these are about. Let's have a quick look. This car was designed and built by an airframe fitter Douglas Hartley. After his death it was donated to the museum. Designed the body and the space frame. He used Ford Corsair rear axle and windscreen. Right. The engine is Cortina Crossflow. All the panels, brightwork and trim were handmade by Douglas. Note the trim details, the ventilation system and the pop-up headlamps. Several people have noted a similarity to a Lotus Eclat, but Douglas made his car in the 1960s long before the Eclat was produced. This car is unique and does its designer great credit. I'm not going to argue with that. It's an incredible looking car. It'd be great to see this at a show somewhere. This is one of the reasons why it's well worth hunting down these slightly smaller motor museums, because they often have really unique exhibits in them. Hence, you know, just look at that, what an incredible little car that is. The Douglas Hartley Special. Of course, special building was a big thing, especially back in the 1950s and into the 1960s. When people wanted their own sports cars, they'd buy a fairly humdrum saloon, a pop or something like that, throw the body away, use the separate chassis and clothe it with a rakish body or make their own body. And this is pretty amazing because not only did he design the body, he also designed the space frame chassis that's hidden underneath it. So that's incredible. Can you imagine seeing that pulling up next to a set of traffic lights? This is a very groovy car indeed, I like that. And what do we have here? This is a cutaway version of a side valve Ford, probably a Ford Prefect. I would have thought we saw the cutaway Austin 7 engine before. And this is, yeah, you can see the upright grille there of the E493A Ford Prefect. And this was either a motor show car, used to show the general layout of all the components in the car, or perhaps again as a training aid, or maybe both. Let's have a quick look at the blurb on this little info sheet here. This chassis was sectioned by Ford apprentices at Dagenham in 1948 and displayed at the Earls Court Motor Show that year to introduce the new range of Ford Prefect, so this would have replaced the E93A. This was the last car manufactured by Ford that had a chassis and mechanical brakes. We saved it from being broken up when the Side Valve Owners Club could no longer take it to shows. It would have been a great pity for it to be dismantled, but I bet some of the parts would have been in great demand. It would have been such a shame to lose this. So we've got that cutaway side valve Ford engine, the 1172 engine. Very similar to that was in the Morgan that we had a look at a few minutes ago. Interesting that the dynamo has a date of 1951. Still 6 volts, that's correct. You can see the cutaway version of the radiator assembly there. And the Bakelite dashboard. Various parts have been chromed as well, like all these pedal brackets here have all been chromed up for this motor show car, but obviously that wouldn't have been the case on the regular Prefects that you would have bought down at your local Ford garage. They would have just been painted probably black. You can see it's a very simple chassis. This is a longer wheelbase compared to the Ford Pop that was sold alongside, or the Anglia rather, like ours, that was sold alongside it, a few inches longer. Yeah, like I was saying before, it's so common that if you wanted to build yourself a little car, you'd buy the car, throw the body away, and you'd be left with a chassis and running gear like this. And then you could clothe it either in your own body, or go and buy one of the commercially available fiberglass bodies that were available. There was loads of them available in the late 1950s and into the 1960s. You had Falcon, Ashley, and loads of other ones as well. Some were more happy looking than others, but yeah, interesting exhibit. We've got an old clocking in machine, I think, here. Another Sun quick service tester over the way there. And packed in very close to this Prefect chassis, we have a very work in progress TVR. I'm not quite sure which model of TVR we're looking at here. I'm sure someone will know. Maybe there's an information board for this one. Clearly some way off going back on the road anytime soon. Seems to have a vessel of some description as well. Squeeze in down here, because of more interest to me at any rate, is this. I didn't see this before. This is a Singer Junior, late 1920s Singer Junior 4-door saloon. That's a very tidy little car. It's got telescopic dampers on the front. Is that original? I don't know if they're original fitment or not, to be honest, off the top of my head. But, a very body little car. Next to that, Triumph GT6 Mark III. So this was the final version of the GT6. 2-litre straight 6 engine under that bonnet. A BMW and the E36 convertible of some description, not quite sure which one. What do we have over here? A a Rolls Royce or a Bentley perhaps, in many, many pieces. Another Bentley there. So there are a few projects around here. But let's have a quick look over here. We don't want to miss out on this gear here. Lots and lots of old engineering equipment here. A lovely old petrol pump. I'm not sure, can we get round to that? Let's see if we can get round to that if we squeeze ourselves in. In fact, there's a matching pair, Jill Barco or Gil Barco, I'm not quite sure which one that is. And yeah, very smart too. I'm sure there'll be a globe around somewhere that can go on there one day. That's Gil Barco as well. It's great that so much of this stuff has been rescued and saved, and not just thrown away. This is my kind of museum. And I can't help but notice that our favourite little standard is represented here in the Llangollen Motor Museum. Now, is this an 8 or a 10? I can't quite see. Can't quite see the badge on the front with this boat in the way, but let's get in there and have a quick look. Last tax disc 1979. Let's see if we can get in there and see which this is. Is it standard 8 or is it the standard 10? It is an 8. So pretty much identical to the car we've got at home. Again, this one doesn't look like it's moved in a little while. Bit of a barn find job, this one. If it's still got its original 803cc engine, or whether it's been upgraded at any time to the larger, the 948 that was in the standard 10, or maybe one of the Herald engines, they all go in. But yeah, 803 was the original engine size. This one looks fairly unmessed with, so I'm assuming it's probably original. Nice bowler hat. Like I say, yeah, 1979, 30th of November 79 is the tax disc. So that's not been on the road for donkeys. No, Harley would like that one if he was here with me today, but sadly he is at school. Right. Of course, that engine, the engine that's in there, eventually, when it was stretched and 2 cylinders were added, it became its final form, the 2 litre, and of course the 2.5, but this is the 2 litre that went into the GT6. So that engine is an evolution and development of the SC, the small car engine that Standard developed in the early 1950s and made its debut in the Standard 8. It went on to feature in the bonnet of Heralds and Vitesses, again in 6-cylinder form, the late Spitfires and the MG Midget 1500. That engine can trace its roots back to this little car as well. So that was a very important engine for Standard Triumph. It was in production for many, many years. Right. Let's go past down here. We have a Morris Oxford, a 1967 Series 6 Oxford. Let's have a look. Mind my head. Okay, so what condition is this one in? Again, these things they were prone to rusting. Now, are these fiberglass wings or are they steel? Not quite sure. Yeah, nice, good, usable, classic car. Bought from Palace Motors, Birkenhead, September 1967, and one owner from new. Let's go and sneak around the back. So who remembers only one of these, the Morris Oxford, or perhaps the Austin Cambridge, or one of the other derivatives, the Wolsleys and so on? Let me know in the comments what you think about these old Farinas. I quite like these. I used to have a 59 Austin Cambridge, the A55 Mark II. That was a really good usable car. Great thing. There's the back end of the Standard. Pun 152, I think UN, that's a Welsh registration, I'm pretty sure. Again, that's not moved in many a year. This must be quite a late 8, actually, because it has the opening boot lid. Most Standard 8s don't have the opening boot lid. You have to get into that area by folding the rear seat backs down. like a split folding rear seat on ours back at home because there isn't a boot lid, but this has the boot lid of the standard 10. So this must be quite a late example of the standard 8, in fact. I wonder what year this one is. I'll look it up when I get back home. I'm guessing this is probably 57, 58, somewhere around about there. So that's actually quite an unusual car because they didn't make those for very long at all. Standard 10s, yep, they always had the separate opening boot lid, but the 8s only right at the end of production. What do we have here? A lovely old Vauxhall. This is the L-type Vauxhall Wyvern. There was the Velox as well, which was a 6-cylinder car, and the Wyvern had the 4-cylinder engine. Oh, those hinges weren't ever meant to break, were they? Pretty substantial. Are those the originals? Is that what they always had? Or someone added those afterwards? I don't know, I'm guessing they're original. I have to have a look at some of the old photos on the image archive section of the old classic car site and just see if I've got any reviews of these cars back in period, because they seem quite clunky, but maybe that's just how they were, I don't know. I love the old number plates and this beautiful badge moulding here which incorporates the number plate light. There's the handle, of course. What year would this be? Sort of very early 50s, late 40s, 50s. Really nice tartan seat covers. The old fluted bonnet, which was a thing on Vauxhalls for so many years. Yeah. Quite like those. Shades of A40 Devon. Well, there's an information sheet down here. Let's have a look. 1950, so it wasn't far out. Small brother of the Velox, this model shows a strong influence of Vauxhall's parent company General Motors with its very transatlantic styling. This was donated to the museum by motoring journalist Ray Leggett. It's our intention to get the car running so that Ray can take it out for a spin or two. 17,000 miles, but time and the damp garage have taken their toll. The interior is as new. It'd be lovely to see that back on the road. I don't know if you can see them, it's got the big old chunky town and country tyres on the back. Next to the Wyvern we have the AC 2 litre. This is a very similar age to the Vauxhall. So let's have a look and see what it says. 1949, yeah. This one's on loan from Steve Irving from the Wirral. Very similar to contemporary Jaguars. I always think the front end styling of these, the Riley RM, looks quite similar to this as well. Very upright roof line. I think most of these were two-door cars. Someone did comment in a previous video that there were a few four-door cars built, but the only ones I've ever seen were all two doors. A real variety of cars here. Vintage cars over there, home built cars here, work in progress projects, restorations, regular cars of the 50s, 60s, back to the sort of late 40s, 50s again with these two. And here, a wonderful vintage Citroen, I do like that. And this Citroen dates to 1925 if we have a look at the information sheet here. 1.5 litre engine B12 Citroen. This state wagon spent its early years working on a vineyard in Bergerac in France. During the Second World War, it was hidden away in a hay barn to avoid being requisitioned for military use. In 1945, he was dusted down and resumed his duties until the ravages of time took their toll. What a rare old survivor that is. Reminds me of a sort of an estate car version of Brum, which used to be in the old TV series, if you remember that. That was a little bright yellow Citroen, I think. But this is the Woody, the estate car version, if you like, of the Citroen B12. Just imagine pottering around southern France in something like that. Isn't that great? Next to that, we have a Triumph TR4. And here, well, that must be the ultimate car that's in this particular collection, I think, in my book anyway. That's a vintage Vauxhall, a 1440 Vauxhall. What a stunning car that is. What's the story with this one? Sports model two-seater with dicky seat, which held two comfortably but fully exposed to the elements. Or sometimes called the mother-in-law seat as well. And this car cost when new £650. Runs very well and can still meander through the lanes at 45 miles per hour. Yes, there's a real mix of pre-war and post-war cars here in this particular museum. Is this a museum you've been to? Let me know in the comments if you've been here yourself before. Like I said, I've been here quite a few times over the last probably 25 or 30 years. Some of these cars I've seen pretty much most times we've visited, others not so. So there is some turnover of vehicles here. There's always something being worked on. I've seen this one several times. So while it's not a huge museum, but packed into this lovely old building, I'm not quite sure what this building was used for. But packed in here is some incredible memorabilia and some fantastic cars, including a nice selection of pre-war cars, which we approve of a lot. Which of these would you bring home? Let me know in the comments as well. Which of these cars particularly takes your fancy, or maybe it'd be one of the motorcycles that we looked at before. This is a rarity. This is the Alfa Romeo Montreal. The first time I came across the Montreal was in my pack of Top Trumps cards in the 1970s. There was a card for the Montreal in there. What an amazing looking car. Next to the Alfa we have a 2+2 E-Type, a Series 2 4.2 litre 6-cylinder Jaguar E-Type. Right hand drive. 2+2 because it has an extra row of seats in the back. The other E-Type fixed heads were just the two-seaters. These have a small bench seat in the back for small people. Just noticed this lovely little picnic set. Please forgive me for getting distracted. Made in about 1920. That's a really cool accessory. Yeah, this Vauxhall, nice. I just noticed some lovely old oil cans on that shelf up there. I almost missed those while I was ogling the back end of the Gilburn. Let's just have a quick look in this standard as this window's open. What a beautifully original interior this is. Yeah, so what do we got there? Luxol, Garages Motor Oil, Newton Oil, like I said that used to be Notwen, BP Motor Spirit, Mobil, and Tractor Oil, Pratt Perfection. Not quite sure what that one is. Power Ethel, and a blank one on the end there. Yeah. What's this? Suzuki motorcycle of some description on a Y registration, nestled up to the back of this beautiful standard of the 1930s. Let's just see if we've missed anything. Who remembers having one of these car trays? These, I've got one or two of these back at base. These clip on, so you wind your window down, you clip it onto the top of the door in the window opening. It gives you a little plastic tray to put your cup of tea and your cucumber sandwiches on. What a great idea that is. It's getting busier in here today. Check the Llangollen Transport Museum's website out for their opening days and hours. at the time of recording they open, I think, the 1st to the 7th of every month, but that might change throughout the year, I'm not quite sure, so check the website if you're planning a visit down here to Llangollen. It's well worth coming here because not only have you got the Motor Museum, you've also got the steam railway. There's some nice little antique shops as well, which I might just pop along and have a look at a little bit later as well. There's a good second-hand bookshop on the high street as well, which I recommend. So you can make a day of it here in Llangollen, and yeah, you can fit in several transport-related visits while you're here too. Yeah, quite a few people in here now. I've honestly never ever seen one of these before. It is a vacuum cleaner which gets into all those awkward nooks and crannies, powered from your exhaust. I've never ever seen one of those before. Distributed by Horvell Products Limited, Aldridge, Walsall in Staffordshire. Fits all diameter exhaust tail pipes. There's an old Daimler there, Daimler Conquest, or possibly the Century, demonstrating this, but I've never seen an exhaust powered vacuum before. I've seen exhaust tyre inflators. We saw a Schrader one over in the cupboard back over yonder, but never a vacuum cleaner. That's incredible. This copy of the automobile looks familiar. Right, well, that was a very enjoyable revisit of the Llangollen Motor Museum. I hadn't noticed that lovely red X sign before, actually. Yeah, this is the place. There is the website if you wish to visit yourself, and I strongly recommend that you do if you find yourself in North Wales. Combine it with a trip on the steam railway, that would be my suggestion. But yeah, what an interesting place, and great to revisit it again. Definitely recommended. There's actually quite a bevy of motorcycles outside here as well. Well, let's go and have a quick look in town, see if there's anything interesting to have a look at. Well, we've just driven towards town. We've parked up here because here is another place that while you're in Llangollen, it's well worth paying a visit. This antique centre in what appears to be a former chapel. But there are often many interesting things to be found here. I've bought a few bits and bobs. I bought a lovely old foot pump not long ago here. So it's definitely worth calling in here if you're passing through. Well, it was unlikely that I was going to escape the chapel emporium without buying something. This relates to old VW transporters, the old split window transporters. So I think we'll have a chat about that in a future video, but yeah, that's really great. So I think we'll nip into town now and just have a quick look, see if there's anything of interest. Over there is where the steam railway setup is. That runs all the way up to Llangollen via several stations. You have the choice usually of steam locomotives or occasionally diesel powered locos. But I imagine the steam ones are probably the most popular choice. Certainly with us they are. It's a fantastic setting. And the Motor Museum, if you just carry on up the road there, about a mile or so, it's just up there on the left, which I heartily recommend popping in to see if you find yourself in Llangollen. Behind that cafe over there, where you can see the book sign hanging up, there is a huge second-hand bookshop. Walk in there, go up the stairs on the left, and you'll find it. It's huge. Well, it had to be done. Well, I think it's probably time to head off and back home after my little visit to Llangollen Motor Museum, and indeed a quick visit to the town itself. I hope that was of interest. I hope you found that car museum video of interest. There are lots of other museum reviews and walkarounds elsewhere on the channel, so please take a look if you've not had a look at those yet. From the big museums down at Bewley to some smaller museums such as the Morgan Museum down in Kent, the Dover Transport Museum, museums from all over the country so far, and I'll be adding to those as time goes on. So thanks very much for watching. Please check out the rest of the channel, like, subscribe, all that kind of thing. Have a look at channel membership if you'd like to support what I do here on the Old Classic Car channel. There's a bit of OCC and classic car related merchandise available now, link in the description to all that, and there'll be many more videos along very soon. So bye for now.